Hi, it's Helen, PR officer from the Greater Liverpool and Knowsley branch. So we're back again for another Q&A session for our virtual congress. I've got with me today Carmel O'Boyle, our chair of branch, and we've got an extra special guest, and that is BJ Walthow. Welcome, BJ. How are you?
I am living the dream. Day off.
Absolutely. Well, you would be extremely busy at this time of year now, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would be. We would be just kind of done our final rehearsal in the hall of where everything was and the settings and everything like that. We will have just recovered from last night, say no more, out in Liverpool, and all it has to offer. And we'd be getting ready for AGM, because that's what would be happening. That was the plan for today, would be for the AGM to happen on a Sunday. So there was my week planned ahead. And here I am, looking forward to work tomorrow.
Oh.
So what will you most miss then about this Congress week?
Oh gosh, I think there's such a lot I'm going to miss, isn't there? I mean, I think I've said it before, I'm a little bit addicted to Congress, okay? And like anything you're addicted to, you need that fix now and again. And I like my annual fix of Congress. When things are tough in nursing, you go to Congress and I just absolutely get completely re-motivated, re-enthused, re-energized by what I see and what I hear from people. And what it really just reminds me most of the time why we all came into nursing. And you see it and you hear it, and I feel really proud when I do that. And of course, most of all, I'm going to miss the people, because that's what makes Congress, isn't it? The members there and what they do and how they contribute, and how people like you take it, they enjoy it, but they also take it very seriously. So all those people I will miss. It would have been over 3,000 would have come to Liverpool, and I do miss them all.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think the first time I went as a student, and I was a little bit overwhelmed, and then the next year I kind of came back and I pledged, right, I'm gonna do this properly, and I'm gonna get involved, and I'm gonna come for the whole week and do all of that, and then just massively got the bug, and that's kind of what I need it to be. To be like a pilgrimage, I suppose, without getting too wobbly about that. But I find coming to meet everybody that is our community and our family, and being re-energized, and meeting people who are so enthusiastic about what they do and having opinions that maybe I haven't thought about before. And yeah, I just love it. I'm really, really missing it.
I mean, I've done general nursing all my life, and that's my specialism. I did dabble as a midwife for about a year. I am a qualified midwife, but I dabbled in that. But it's mostly, acute hospital. And if it wasn't for the RCN and Congress, I wouldn't know what it's like to be a mental health nurse. I wouldn't know what it's like to be a community nurse. I wouldn't know what it was like to work in a care home. I wouldn't know what it was like to work in Scotland. And then, and then the issues we had recently with Northern Ireland. And that's what it brings. And sometimes when people say, well, is it worth the money that the RCN spends on it? After I've kneecapped them, I say, it absolutely is.
100%.
But what is hard, and unless you have been there, it is you can't quantify it. And people often want to quantify stuff with how many people go and what does this and what does that. But it's the quality, it's the qualitative side that it brings that really, I think, you can't measure, absolutely can't measure. And of course, I've made friends now that I know will be friends for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time, you pay your RCN subscription, like you do your breakdown cover. I know that before I went to Congress, didn't engage with the RCN really. It was just, it was there if I needed it. And then I went to Congress. Within, I think, I don't know if it was the first day, but it was certainly within the first couple of days. I'd been sat on the front row anyway because I'd managed to blag my way in. I didn't even realise that's where my branch was, didn't know anyone. I'd been up on stage, I'd got up again, and suddenly I've caught this bug, and then you have to, I was then going to branch meetings and then getting really involved, and then suddenly I can't believe that we've not got Congress this week, and I'm devastated. So what, trying to get involved in some way, and that you can to.
I think it's amazing what you've done. We have been in discussions with the RCN about trying to have some kind of virtual Congress, and we're looking at that for later in the year. We've got to get it approved by council, because I suppose one of the things I'm sorry is that we had, I think, a cracking agenda, and there were items on there that, were quite, as an organisation, we were looking inward as well as outward, and I know people have done so much work in preparing for that. It isn't easy. We get 130 and we choose 25. It's hard to get through. And that's always disappointing when I know people have really thought about what they want and what is important. And of course, I don't think we should ever underestimate the media attention that it gets. I mean, nurses are getting quite a bit of media attention. Well, people like Donna and Sue Masters and people like that. But I really want to hear from those nurses on the front line, those nurses who are going to work every day and live. It's called the lived experience, isn't it? And that's what I really get a buzz from. And I just love hearing. I've learned so much going to Congress. There's stuff I never thought I would. Oh, it's just been amazing, I will remember it forever. And I wish I had more photos, actually, but there we go.
It's difficult when you're at the front, though.
I haven't always been at the front. I was at the back, and one year I was right at the back. I had a really good session the night before, and I think I might have I think it was Harrogate, and I was right at the back, really kind of like that in my chair, like that, thinking, I've got to stay awake, I'm paid to be here, like that. And suddenly it was Michael Parkinson, and you gave your questions in, and he goes, I've got a question here from BJ Wartho. And of course I was there, and oh my God, it's me. And I got that, and I was kind of, my hair was all flat, like when you've been fallen asleep, and I was doing my hair, because suddenly the camera was on me, and I was going, oh yes. He goes, it's all right, BJ, your hair looks lovely. but so I've been at the back, but I've been at the back as well as being at the front.
So we were going to ask you, so we know that as a branch, we come back and we look at things that we want to discuss for next Congress, but virtually straight after Congress. So we kind of start thinking about that. And we know that the Agenda Committee has a massive job. So we just wanted to ask you to explain a little bit of that.
About how we choose.
Yeah, and the Congress for you isn't just the 1 week in
oh,
wherever,
absolutely,
it's a year long.
No. I mean, the 1 week is the culmination, but as soon as you come back from Congress, you all have a questionnaire, because that's what we really want it to get better and better every year. And during every chair of Congress, they've always developed stuff and tried to improve stuff. So we really need to hear from the members about what we can do, what they enjoyed, what they didn't like. So that questionnaire goes out to you. And our first meeting that we have it goes through all those answers and how we can, what we need to build on, but also from our own experience, what we felt could have gone better. And then we have got we've always usually got the hall booked up, because the venue booked up, because we book ahead. And sometimes, like in Liverpool, if we book 3, because we book 3 consecutive years, you get a discount, which is good for members. So we like the familiarity anyway. And then you start planning what you're going to do next year, what the issues might be, and then speakers. You've got to, if you want really good speakers, you've got to start planning those early. And you also hear back from council about how who's going to look at what item, which member of staff is going to be, you know, from the Congress themselves, you know, which items, resolutions were passed. So that's another piece of work. And then we start the, of course, the trawl through, you know, launching the items for discussion to go on the agenda, and of course not forgetting the fringe events, which are really another really important aspect. And because, you know, I'm so caught up in the room, we don't go to those fringe events because we have meetings we have a meeting first thing in the morning, a meeting at lunchtime and during Congress week, and a meeting after. You don't get to those fringe events. But a lot of people, that is really important. And once again, the forums and the branches have really put energy into those. So we get an evaluation of those too. And then it all starts again with the submissions. And then we spend 2 days. We try to do events, with branches or forums or maybe Zoom things from now on about how to write good items that will go on the agenda. And then in January, we sift through them to try to get the best ones that we think make the best agenda. And then actually, that's when the work almost finishes just after that, once you've written to everybody, because then it's the waiting game. And then we waited this time and the bus never turned up. I'm still at the, yeah. So it will start again very soon. We won't have the feedback this year, of course, but I say we are trying to do some sort of virtual congress if we can later in the year. We're just looking at that. And of course, you know, there's only us 3 on this call, but how many people could we have? And is there the IT that can do it? We've heard that there is, but we don't want that to fail. You know, a few thousand. Anyway, we'll see.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? I mean, there's so much hard work that goes in, as you've just said. It would be a shame for people not to do those items that they planned. Also to see that hard work that went into it. So it would be good if that could happen, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
I mean, and when I look at I was looking at the agenda only yesterday, thinking, you know, are any of these still current? And there was one that kind of jumped out to me about the specialism of nurses working in care homes. And I think what's happened with COVID-19, I think we've really got to think about those nurses working in care homes. But there's, you know, so much else about, well, there's another one, if I remember correctly, about mental health first aiders, which I think is because I think it is a big issue, because I think nurses, when they come out of this, wherever we work, I think, you know, there will be some of us who, once we've got over the rush and to have time to reflect, might have some problems trying to cope with that. And, you know, not just us and how we, with our family and our colleagues who we had to nurse, but also perhaps, you know, what we weren't able to do for our families whilst we were there. You know, nurses having to be away. I was seeing 2 things yesterday about 2 nurses in my own trust. One's partner's got multiple sclerosis, and the other wife has got some sort of leukemia, MDS. And so both of them have moved into caravan parks to live in caravans for 12 weeks when perhaps their families need them most. Sorry, I'm being a bit maudling there, but I think it's all those things will come back. And while we're on that little hamster wheel that we are, you know, and, you know, when sorry, am I allowed to say this? I am, sorry, it's in Liverpool. Another piece of rubbish guidance comes down from government saying you will do this tomorrow, and we've got no idea what we're supposed to be doing or how we're supposed to be doing it. Once we get off that wheel, I think we'll have time to reflect. And so I think stuff like, so what I'm trying to say, because I'm rambling, was that those mental health first aiders, I think, will be a really important issue. So there's some that's still very current.
Yeah, we've been talking about that, haven't we? And that's certainly something that's been discussed at our board level and whatever, and how our community recovers from COVID and all the reaching things, you know, that has. And again, you're right, to Congress, we could have talked about that, and then that brings another point of view. And you know, I'm in an acute trust actually. I was sent home to Shields, and Helen's in a different area, and so we would have had those points of view from all those different nurses from all the different areas that we could have talked about at Congress. So I hope that that does kind of carry on, and we do get to do that, because you're right, it is relevant.
I think actually, and that's perhaps the bit that's making me saddest of all. I'll try not to get sad, but that's. But I think, sorry.
It's okay.
We've all got our cry faces on now, so all right.
I think we could have, Congress would have really come into its own, because I think we'd have been there to support one another and listen to one another and encourage each other, have some laughs and a few drinks. And I think we need it now more than ever, because, sorry about this.
No,
so Congress would have been absolutely the right thing to do now, and it's not happening. And I think, you know, nurses need that now. They needed the companionship, the camaraderie that comes with Congress. But even still, even for those nurses who don't come to Congress, the media coverage would have made them feel, it would have made them feel good, feel valued, you know. And I know you would have done an emergency item about the pay, and you know that, okay, I know you've sweated your butt off, team, but we're going to not give you any pay rise. We'd have had some really, and it would have made us all feel good again. So sorry about that, but
no, you're right, and you're absolutely right. So I did a course a wee while ago, a digital activist thing, and learning to use social media a bit more. And I met in person people that I have met in the Twitter sphere at Congress, but I've never met them in the flesh, and so that was a massive thing for me. And a couple of those people were saying that they could never get to Congress or do that in person because for whatever reason, but they engaged with everything they could online.
Yes,
and so it is wider than the people sitting in the hall. It's massive.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean the tweets reach millions and millions of people. And, you know, it does mean that nurse in that care home, for example, who can't come because her boss won't let her come, you know, to Congress, even though it's free, of course, to attend, you know, she will know that we were debating the care and the service and her specialism. And I think that's also encouraging. So I think it was needed more than ever now, and we're not going to be able to do it. So there we are.
Perhaps we can take from this that actually there are other things that are achievable, and this is showing us that technology's got an even greater reach. We just haven't possibly tapped into that yet. So, you know, this is why we've got like coffee mornings and a couple of things going on in the week, and it's just to keep that connection going.
Yeah,
that's what we all crave.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we just need to keep that fire burning, don't we? And then when we do get together, that's when our voices will be the loudest, you'd hope, because we'll get people coming in on Zoom if we can, or whatever we can, get everybody in there.
But I think you're right about the human connection, and is that and I think that's one of the things that most people have said they've absolutely missed, the human connection, you know, whatever it may be. It's that distance you've got from people that you normally, I mean, I was really naughty, but don't tell anybody. I was in Christchurch where I lived yesterday, and out of a shop came a healthcare assistant I know, Michael he's called, and he had spent a month in ITU, really, really, really sick, Filipino boy. And I saw him, and although I saw him when he came out of ITU and gave him a wave, etc., he stood at the doorway to that shop, and I was so pleased to see him. And he was so pleased to see me. He was crying because he not seeing me, but because, you know, he was just so happy. And I went, "Shall we, Michael?" And Michael went, "Yes, come on." And we both gave each other the biggest hug, because, you know, it was awful. It was awful for him, you know. And he's, I mean, such a a lovely, lovely healthcare assistant. Back at work now, so I'm really, really pleased. But you do miss that. It doesn't feel right. I think as nurses, it doesn't feel right if you don't touch people in some way, does it? Even just to touch their shoulder or their hand, that doesn't feel right. Maybe some of our Scottish stoical chaps will go, well, what's you talking about? Well, wasn't the Scottish accent. That sounded, I'd have no idea where that accent came from. And obviously if I was Scottish, I'd put some swear words in as well. But they'd be saying, you know, why? But actually, you know, there was I'm rambling again, but I remember one of our speakers at Congress one year was a guy called Tommy Whitelaw. And Tommy spoke about his mum, Joan, with dementia. Now, he was from Scotland, so the Scottish board and branches had heard him before, and they said, get ready with the tissues, right? And I thought, okay, and I'm up on that up there with all the cameras on, I'm thinking, you've got to hold this together. You've got to hold this together. And suddenly, what he was saying about his mother, oh, it was amazing, amazing. And suddenly I looked out the front row and Scotland were in the front and there was all these Scottish men crying. And I thought, oh, I'm allowed to cry if they can cry, I can cry. It was just, and that's another thing with Congress, isn't it? All these kind of people that we wouldn't hear them speak, but hearing them speak, it's just, the politicians, the great politicians we've had there, and the not so great politicians we've had there. Oh, there's some. One year, I was there, and I think it was 60 years the NHS, and Alan Johnson, he was in the Secretary of State in Labour Party, and brilliant chap, I thought, brilliant chap. Anyway, he gave a speech, and my question to him was, what are you going to do for nurses in the 60th year of the NHS? And he stopped and he goes, I'm going to bake a cake. And I said, okay. He said, I'm going to bake you a cake, right? I'm going to bake you a cake. And then he went on and on. Anyway, 2 months later, I'm in the centre court of Wimbledon, not playing tennis, of course, watching. And my phone starts vibrating. And I thought, what's that? Anyway, I go out. I went in between sets. I go out. And there's a message. Could you ring the Secretary of State for Health's PR person? Anyway, I phone him. And he says, are you free to come to London in 2 days' time to get the cake that Alan Johnson's baked you? Yeah. Yeah. And I went, imagine, oh no, I'm rather busy. No. Okay, so I trundle up to London and I go to this big ceremony, and then I go up to this room and there he is. And he brings out this rather rusty cake tin. Why I say that is it proved to me he'd made it himself. Aww. So it opens this and there it is. And I go, I said, gosh, did you make that yourself? And he goes, yes, I was listening to Radio 4 Today programme and I did it. I said, well, actually, I think I could have guessed it, because I don't think you'd be able to find a cake with happy 60th NHS on it or something in bright green icing. I said, anyway, we had to pose for a picture. And I said, careful where you put that knife, because his knife was going through the NHS. And I said, it'll look like you're cutting the NHS. He goes, no, I leave that to the Tories. Well, I was in absolute fits, I tell you. And then I was in the Sun newspaper. The page before page 3, page 2 of me and him cutting the cake. There we are. So it's something that would never have happened without Congress.
Yeah, absolutely.
So go on quickly, just have a wee think. What is your best Congress moment you can think of?
That was a good one. That was a good one. Mo Mowlam, amazing, absolutely amazing. I think when the nurses stood up to Patricia Hewitt after how she behaved and so patronising, I was very, very proud. But I think obviously the proudest moment was this time last year when I sat on that stage and I was chair of Congress, because I'm old, so for someone of my age to get up there, I think it's good, it's nice, you know, that actually age isn't a barrier to it. I think I'd come through the LCN, I'd started off as a forum chair, branch chair, agenda committee, etc. So it was like, you know, the epitome of all of that. But I think mostly, and also because I had boobies, because you might have noticed there hadn't been any boobies up there for many long. It was a lot of men up there for a very, very long, I think it was something like 20 years. So that was brilliant. But of course, when I sat there, I knew that the members had elected me. The members felt that Congress that I loved so much was safe in my hands. So perhaps, no, of course it was. That was the proudest moment of all.
Fair play. And we certainly did vote for you, BJ. It was, yeah. And I'm missing it. It was amazing last year, and I can't even, I think I just got a list of remember when this happened, and remember when they said that, and yeah. So
yeah, absolutely. And we all remember different things. Oh, and of course, dancing on the tables in the beer cellar. Now that was brilliant, I have to say. And I know people have got pictures, but that's it, isn't it? You know, it's working with the students. You know, I mean, my teams work with students, but I don't work with students. But to see those, and they make me think the future of nursing is great. The enthusiasm they have. And, you know, we're all there. We're in that beer cellar. It's the student night. But who's a student? Who's an older member? We're there together. Yeah. And the students and then, of course, the healthcare assistants. You know, they talk about the family, or as somebody described it the other day, the tribe of nursing. But it is, and we can all be together. And it just is, I mean, you know, I just love it. I just hope I get the chance to do it again.
Oh, I think so. I think there may have already been campaign talk this morning on Twitter. So don't worry about that.
Thank you.
Just need to ask if the unofficial last night of Congress is going to be back in Pockweld again, because I'm still recovering from last year. I don't know about you.
Oh, I loved it.
Oh, I think it was when you looked around Congress the next day and you could tell who'd been there.
Yeah, I had to speak, didn't I?
I thought, well, go to Pockweld, all right, and you got this kind of little corridor, don't you? And then it was just amazing. I went back twice, actually, because it was such good fun. And then you look at the watch and you go, oh my gosh, I've got to be on that stage tomorrow, and I'm going to be in the Wide Awake Club, and I can't be caught out. Right, off we go. But of course, you get infused by all the people there, so you do manage, don't you? Wow. I mean, you get there and you turn up every morning and you're there come what may. I have always say to the agenda committee when they're new, or anybody coming to Congress for the first time, the week before you come to Congress, go to bed early for a few nights. Yeah. And I'm always really pleased that I've got a really long train journey after, you know, if it's Liverpool from Congress, because I can go on the way home. Yeah,
it's a really tiring week, and I think it's difficult to explain. I'd say to my son last year, he was away last year, so he'd gone to France, I think, with the school, and had an amazing time, you know, kayaking and climbing stuff and whatever they do. And I was in Congress, and I was absolutely exhausted. And he was like, "But Mum, you've just been sat on your fat bum all week." No, it's really tiring.
It is really tiring. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, ladies, I hope that's been. You don't have to edit too much out.
Not at all.
And thank you. And I'm really, I will miss you all. I am so pleased that it's Liverpool next year, because if it was somewhere else, I think that would be like a double whammy. So I'm really pleased it is Liverpool again, because that's such a warm welcome. We always get there, and we know where the best bars are and the best clubs and the, you know, best places to eat. So that's fine. It's easy, you know, familiarity. But we will be back next year, and we have got to make it the most awesome, amazing experience for people. And we're going to have really big hugs, aren't we? And big. So there we are. So I'm going to finish by saying thank you very much. And there's my big hug. Yes. And thank you, ladies. It's been a pleasure speaking to you on a Sunday afternoon, because I'm avoiding doing my appraisal, so that's any excuse. And I hope your virtual Congress goes really well. And thank you for organising it.
Thank you very much, Peter.
Thank you very much.
Bye. 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 See you soon.
Bye.